Secondhand toy dealer here, and this is the toy haul for the month of October. I just did the toy show a couple weekends ago, and I found a few things at the toy show that I was at and the toy show I went and checked out the following weekend. At the toy show that I was at, I found this Boba Fett Star Wars action figure. This is the special edition 300th action figure for Star Wars. And I like the windowed packaging here. It's got a nice 3 3/4 scale Boba Fett. More than anything, I like the packaging. It's a good figure. You can get a window in the back. So we're gonna put him next to Cobb Vanth here. And that looks pretty good together. Another thing that I found at the toy show that I visited the following weekend, I didn't set up at, I just went and shopped at. Found this ERTL 1950 Oliver tractor. There's a running gag with my in-laws. My wife's family, they like international tractors, and my wife's brother-in-law, well, he'd be my brother-in-law, but my wife's sister's husband likes John Deere. And so anytime somebody new hit the scene, when I started dating my wife, they thought it was super important to find out if I was a John Deere guy or an international guy. The dairy farm that I grew up on, we had Oliver tractors, so I would upset both parties and say, well, I'm an Oliver guy. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to have a diecast for that. And so we will put him back here in the corner, right there. And then the last purchase that I had at that second toy show is this G.I. Joe 25th anniversary lift ticket with Ghost Hawk. I always wanted one of these vehicles as a kid. Never got one, and I really liked this 25th anniversary packaging. I already have one 25th anniversary, and the first one I got was the Conquest X30. And then they made some here a few years ago, like 2019, 2020, 2021. I made the Hiss Tank, the Striker, and the Cobra Fang. And these are cool. I mean, maybe they're even very similar to what you would have seen, like 1980s style packaging, like mostly a windowless packaging with a small window for the action figure. But boy, I really, really like that they display these vehicles inside a nice windowed packaging, showcasing the vehicle and the action figure. So I think this is a big upgrade, and I almost bought a few more. They did have a Hiss Tank and they did have a Cobra Fang, and I almost replaced the two that I had, preferring to display things with a windowed packaging. So we'll set this just above the Millennium Falcon here. Right there in that column. And then I found this Nerf Stormtrooper gun. It was on clearance from $30, $29.97 down to $6, which I thought was a spectacular deal. It's got a little sound effect when you pull the trigger. You can rapid fire. You can charge the Nerf blaster and then shoot these glow-in-the-dark Nerf darts. And I don't really need anything Nerf, pretty well set for it, but man, for $6 for a $30 blaster, how do you pass on something like that? So we'll set that here. And then got these Marvel Legends series Spider-Man action figure. This is Mary Jane Watson with an Iron Spider suit. And this has got a really good face sculpt. And Iron Spider is actually one of my favorite action figures. I have a 3 3/4 inch scale Marvel Universe Iron Spider-Man, and these actually look really good together. They got the colors really nice. Both figures have the 4 additional spider iron legs. Some of the action figures only come with 3. I prefer the ones that come with 4. So this is going to be a nice little display here. And she will go right under R2-D2. Then at Target, I found this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 1988 remastered 6-pack. Donatello, Raphael, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Splinter, and Shredder. They are meant to look identical to the 1980s action figures, with the addition of some new joints making them much more posable. So that's pretty awesome. And this is going to go right above the Legion of Doom. Just like that. And then I like the peg stack stuff, and I needed 2 Matchbox Action Driver playsets to go behind 2 of them that I already had so that I could deepen that stack. So we've got the bus station. They all connect together like the old Micro Machines used to do. Comes with a Green City bus. And we're gonna set it underneath the Home Alone here. Just like that. And then I'm gonna put the FedEx truck that I already had. There's a little FedEx station, goes with the truck. And that one's gonna go in front. And then I got a police station with a Ford Police Interceptor. And that is going to go in the next peg over. And then in front of it is going to go my Pizza Hut action driver set. And deepening the display here kind of falls in line nicer with the Home Alone directly above it. And I think that looks really nice. And speaking of Matchbox, I frequently check out the Skybusters to see what kind of die-cast airplanes they have. And I found the 1980s space shuttle. This one is the Endeavour. Get your NASA logo there, and so that's pretty cool. And I will set him with my Skybusters, peg stack that. And then on eBay, I found a 2007 Transformers Autobot Bumblebee. I used to work at Toys R Us, and we used to get cases of these, and there would only ever be one Bumblebee in each case. And I had so many people looking for Bumblebee. You'd had parents, grandparents, collectors, scalpers. I mean, like, everybody was trying to find a Bumblebee for their collection or to flip and make a profit as a gift for their kid or grandkid. And you couldn't hardly ever find them. And I opened a case to set out to start filling up the pegs and replenish them. And I found this in an unopened case. And at the time, when I was working at Toys R Us, we each had a cubby, and you could, if you weren't planning to flip it on eBay, you could buy, or set back to buy, anything that you unpacked. So I set this Bumblebee back, and I thought, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this. And before the end of this shift, I had an older couple come up to me and say, we're looking for a Transformers action figure, and it's yellow, and I can't remember the name of it. I was like, is it Bumblebee? And they were like, yes, we're looking for Bumblebee. We've been to 3 or 4 stores. We can't find it anywhere. So I went up to my cubby and I grabbed it, and I let the older couple buy it for their grandkid. And then there was a guy in the aisle with me that was like, oh my gosh, do you have any more? I was like, no, I'm sorry, that was the last one that we had. So I never got to buy one, and I've been keeping an eye out for a good, crisp mint copy of it, and I just found one here this past weekend. And the thing is, this came from the exact area that I worked in when I worked at Toys R Us. So it is possible that this came from one of the Toys R Us stores that I frequented or maybe even worked at. And it will go on the peg in front of Barricade there. Nice appropriate Barricade versus Bumblebee. And then I've been buying more of these blockies action figures. I got some Insecticons here. This is Shrapnel in insect form. And then this is Kickback in robot form, and they came together. I picked it up at Walmart for $5, which I think is a pretty spectacular price. I really like these blockies. I already have the trio of Seekers, and for right now I think I'm just going to set him up here, watching over the toy shop. I guess I'll put Shrapnel up there with him as well. I might try and find the other Insecticons. I always liked the Insecticons and the Constructicons. And speaking of Constructicons, here is a set. This is the Defender Wave 1, 2, and 3. And then the Devastator Combining Accessory Pack. So you would need all 6 Constructicons, and then this is the rest of the parts that you need. There's the head, there's the calves, the chest shield, hands, the forearms, and whatnot. So you get all of the different characters in these waves. So in this wave you've got Hook and Bone Crusher in the vehicle mode. In number 1, you've got Scavenger. And then in 3, you've got 3 different ones. You've got Scrapper, Mixmaster, and Long Haul. You get all 6 of them, and you can build a Blockies Devastator, which is probably the closest thing to a highly articulated, non-transforming Devastator action figure as I may ever see. I do have a detailed 3 3/4-ish scale Heroes of Cybertron, and that is very cartoon accurate, but it's basically like 5 points of articulation. So it's not going to be very posable like this is going to be. And I'll probably just make a separate video on these. But that's the toy haul for the month of October. Thanks for checking out my videos. Hopefully we will catch you in the next one.
That was awesome! Yes! That's awesome!
It's pretty cool, I guess.
Are you gonna be a dork your whole life? Hope not.
I'm really, really sorry. I apologize unreservedly. I offer a complete and utter retraction. The imputation was totally without basis in fact and was in no way fair comment and was motivated purely by malice. And I deeply regret any distress that my comments may have caused you or your family. And I hereby undertake not to repeat any such slander at any time in the future.